In our 78th season, the Palm Beach Civic Association expands its communication outreach with a state-of-the-art television studio. We call it Studio 33480, the zip code for the beautiful island of Palm Beach. Sponsored by Finley Galleries, our goal is to bring you in-depth interviews with the most colorful and knowledgeable personalities on the island. And now, our host.
Welcome to Studio 33480. And with us today is someone we're very excited about, somebody who has worked long time to achieve a very exciting goal, and that is the reopening of the Royal Poinciana Playhouse. So welcome, Alexandra Clark. We're so delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a big project. You know, let's get started. We've gotten some background from William Kelly's article a little bit, but we're kind of interested in the how and the why here. So first tell us, your role at Royal Poinciana Plaza is what? Just help us understand.
I work for the company that owns the Royal Poinciana Plaza called WS Development. Upmarkets is a division of WS Development, and I oversee our 12 premier properties in the portfolio. The Royal Poinciana Plaza is close to my heart. My family's from Vero. They come down here frequently, and I've been working on the Royal for 7 years. And so I led the redevelopment of what is now the Plaza and continue to lead the redevelopment of the Playhouse. But Lori Berg and her team run day to day, and I work very closely with them.
Right, and already you've contributed so much to the Royal, as we call it. Okay, so talk about what decades of emptiness, the shuttered building, sort of that iconic positioning at the end of the bridge. You see it and you go, wow, that's a gorgeous building, but it's been shut forever and a day. Talk to us about how long it's been, why it's taken so long.
Well, you're very complimentary to call it a gorgeous building because you might be in a very small club of human beings that call it gorgeous. It has been closed for 22 years. We have been in control of the property for 7. So I only take blame for 7 of the 22. But, you know, we inherited a lease when we acquired the property. We let that lease continue on. And when that lease didn't meet the fundraising thresholds, we sought out on this odyssey, as we've been calling it, to overturn every rock, to find the right operator for the Playhouse. And what that led us to were consultants and architects and operators. And if you had a venue anywhere in the world, I probably tried to get in touch with you. And we put together this amazing list of potential partners that wanted to use the building, but weren't going to operate it day in and day out. We wanted it to be operated year-round. We want it to be an amenity for the island. We want it to be just as alive and active as the plaza itself is. That's why John Volk put it at the end of a retail property. He saw the synergy between retail, restaurant, and culture.
Absolutely.
So we kept turning over rocks to find the right operators, and we landed on this concept that flexibility was going to be key for success. It would have been really easy for us to just do a deal a couple years ago and open the Playhouse, but it probably wouldn't have been successful. And so we were steadfast in this fact that we will take the hits. We will keep the questions coming. We will try to provide as many answers as possible. But we're not going to announce the reopening until it's the right recipe for success for many years. So we knew that the restaurant was easy. Opening a waterfront restaurant that isn't a private club, that was the easiest piece of this puzzle. We needed to find the right operator for the Cultural Arts Center. So we created a plan that was probably going to be, and again, we didn't have definitive answers till we had the operator, but we knew that it needed to be smaller. We knew that it needed to be inherently flexible. It needs to be a place where you could have a kids' theatrical camp. You can have an art walk. You can listen to a speaker with 20 people, most intimately, or you could have 400 people enjoying a live performance. And that flexibility of programming is what allows it to be open year-round. So we worked with some of the most talented theater consultants in the country, and we studied technology and what's available. And what it is it's a flat floor with telescopic seating, which William mentioned in his article. I think it's one of the coolest details.
That means collapsible?
Yes, so these telescopic seats, the best way to describe them is you've probably been in them, but you didn't know it. They aren't bleachers. They feel like real performance venue seats, but they collapse into themselves in the back of a room and allow you to have a flat floor that you can program differently.
For instance, what would you use a flat floor for?
One, Jill Glazer gives a great example, which is you could sit in a circle and listen to a violinist.
Oh.
Like how intimate and beautiful would that be? Because you don't always want 400 seats. And sometimes a grandmother might want to see her grandchildren perform on a stage at the Royal Poinciana Playhouse because she did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so being able to offer people, that's why it's the Palm Beach secret sauce. It was really important to us that this venue cater to what makes sense for Palm Beach. That's not 900 seats. That's 400 at most. This jewel box of a venue that can cater to the community in a multitude of ways. And that's what leads me to the Glazers as being this amazing partner to us. If Avi were here, Avi would say, I've lived on the island for 25 years. I raised my girls on this island. The girls are the owners of Stony Clover Lane, one of our most successful businesses at the plaza. I raised them here. This building has been vacant for far too long. I work for this company. I'm the chairman of this company that wants to do good things. Jill and I want to do good things in Palm Beach, and so we are going to operate this playhouse and bring it back to life.
It's so
amazing.
exciting.
It's amazing.
So let's talk about the innovation in design. That the little that I know starts with that retractable wall that would reveal the whole intercoastal waterway view.
It's crazy.
So tell us about that.
So what's really amazing and special about the Glazers is that it's going to be this perfect marriage of history and the nod to what it was in its heyday with the best of the best that make it successful for the future. We will walk into what was the historic lobby space, but we will be opened up to the water for the first time. We will walk into what was historically the theater space, but we will be open to the water for the very first time. So what we've done is we've really focused on what are the John Volk items that were really essential and important to him, and Dr. Jane Day has been helping us navigate that with the Preservation Foundation. But then saying, okay, the telescopic seating, the water views. You know, in 1950s, the actors and actresses had the water views. The dressing rooms are the wall of windows on the Playhouse.
So the audience did not
Never
benefit
even
from
saw
the water.
You would go to the Playhouse and not once did you see the water.
Amazing.
And so what we've done is we said, you don't need the same, you don't need 20 dressing rooms on the water, certainly, but you don't need 20 dressing rooms anymore. You need a green room and you need a prep room and you need post-function space. We can make that happen, but it doesn't need to be on the water. So that's what they've been studying with the consultants. So the telescopic seating is wildly advanced in terms of what it can offer. But then the technology around bringing a stage in, but allowing a stage to go away, bringing in, to your point, the windows and allowing it to be a black box when you have a small performance happening. So you don't always have to interact with the water. But of course, I think more often than not, we're going to want to interact with the water.
That is just beyond exciting. Now, an interesting aspect of this to me is that you're going to operate as a nonprofit. Is that correct?
So the most successful entities, and this is really for Innovate to solve for, the most successful cultural arts venues have nonprofit and for-profit coming together. The Glazers are building out a team that will run this playhouse. Innovate is a for-profit public corporation. But Avi would say, I'm not in it to make a bunch of money. It should be sustainable. It should be successful. But he's not there to do after the wrong things that, quite frankly, aren't sustainable or have longevity behind them. So in most instances, and I'm not being specific to Innovate, it's a marriage of for-profit, not-for-profit. And that allows them certainly to charge as a venue space where it makes sense, but then offer the non-for-profit community programming that's such an important piece of this puzzle.
So that kind of tells me how this playhouse is going to differentiate from, say, Kravis or any of the other playhouses.
Yeah, one thing that even our harshest critics often talked about were this concept of theaters being together and feeding off of each other. And when we worked with the theater consultants, we were really focused on how do we complement the other venues in South Florida. From Jupiter to Miami, there are beautiful venues. And so we want to be complementary. But the size of this and the fact that it's a jewel box on the island for Palm Beach, designed for the people of Palm Beach, inherently allows it to be slightly different than the regional and even national draws that a behemoth. I mean, the Kravis is incredible, but it's a much bigger venue with a very different prerogative.
2023?
It seems crazy. When New Year's hit and all of a sudden I was saying the next year, I couldn't believe we were here. We will go through an approval process with the town, which has been met with some wonderful praise. And so I'm optimistic that we'll have a few months of town approvals.
You've got landmarks coming, then you've got
Town
planning
council.
and zoning.
No planning and zoning.
No
so
planning
it's
and
just
zoning.
landmarks and town council.
Okay.
We're landmarks, so of course we want the aesthetic pieces of it to be blessed by a very important board of human beings that have encouraged us over the years to make this a really special place. What is there today actually wasn't originally designed by John Volk, and what he originally designed 9 months before the drawings of what's there today was far more beautiful. And so we were able to extrapolate details from those original drawings to incorporate into the building that I hope will be there in about
18 months?
Yeah, I think it's about a year of construction and 6 months of the interiors being built out and finalized. So once we get approval, we're off to the races, and I think it's about 18 months from there.
Oh, that would be so exciting.
I
I know it's going to happen on schedule in these crazy times. And just quickly, so we're going to see a playhouse, very innovative, flexible. We're going to see a restaurant, and we're going to see some retail also attached?
Yeah, it's a really important piece to this success, albeit small, but relatively compared to the building. When we opened 7 galleries last year, we saw this energy from retail, restaurant, and art that we assumed would be true but never quite experienced until those galleries were open. And what's amazing is galleries like to be together. They like to feed off of each other. They like the energy that comes
People like
from
to
that.
shop from gallery to gallery to gallery,
do.
right?
And one gallery never speaks to every type of art.
Right.
And so it's this amazing energy that can come from these different uses together. So what we've done is right now you arrive at the west end of the property and you're met with that blank wall. To your point, you used to go into the theater and you almost never even saw the outside. You were just in a black box of a theater. So what we've done is we've introduced retail and gallery space to the east side of the building to make sure that that energy is carried to the Playhouse building. It's something operators of cultural arts centers said to us time and time again. The reason John Volk put a cultural arts center at the foot of a retail property is because he knew the amazing cross that could happen from those two uses, and that bringing retail and restaurant and gallery space to the footsteps of a cultural arts center is another layer for future success. And so we really studied it, and the original drawings that Volk drew had a much more engaging east facade. And so we think we're aligned with what he would have done if he was in current day and he saw how quickly theater design was progressing. And so we've incorporated a design that you don't arrive on the West End and it's a box. You arrive on the West End and it's a wow, but it's a wow with a gentle nod towards what the plaza is, just carried over across the way.
Absolutely awesome
Thank
sounding
you.
planning, and I'm sure you'll sail through the little possible
Lots of
bumps
them,
through
yeah.
the town, and because everybody wants this, right?
Yeah. We've been met with a lot of please, thank yous, everything in the way.
Right. Thanks so much, by the way. Thank you
I
for coming
appreciate
in and just giving sort of the back from the rear view insight into this whole project. Thanks, Alex,
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. We
And we'll
appreciate it.
follow it.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
All right. And that wraps it up for us here in Studio 33480. As always, we thank you for watching, and we will see you next time right here in Studio 33480.
Studio 33480 is brought to you by the Palm Beach Civic Association, our sponsor, Finley Galleries, and our viewers. We welcome your thoughts on how our programming can best serve our members and residents.